Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Wise Woman podcast. I am so excited to have Kate Northrup here, a dear friend, a best-selling author, podcast host. Kate, I'm so happy to see you. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Erin. I'm so happy to be here.
This is going to be a very fun conversation talking about wealth and legacy and money and abundance. But Kate, I would love to know, where are your ancestors from? What's your lineage?
Ancestors are from Northern and Western Europe, France, Germany, Denmark,
Yeah.
probably England. Yeah, and my ancestors have been in the United States for,
Would you know when they came over?
of course, like different sides, different families, whatever. I had some who came over in the 1800s, and I think possibly some before then.
So Northern Europe, that would have been run by the church, so Catholic lineage,
I don't believe so. I think mostly Protestant.
Protestant.
Probably. These are good questions. I don't know. I gotta do some I gotta do some genealogy. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's so interesting. I mean, where were you? You were raised on
I was
the East
raised in
Coast.
Maine.
You were raised
Yeah.
in Maine.
Small town in Maine on the coast.
And did you grow up with like any specific spiritual practice in the house? I mean, of course, your mother, yeah. So
Yeah,
what
we
were
grew
some of
up
the practices?
I was technically baptized Episcopalian, but not in any way related to the religious in any way capacity. Like we celebrated all the earth-based holidays in my family. So we always every summer had a sleepover on the summer solstice and played flashlight tag. And we always had a really special family ritual on the winter solstice, where we would light candles and have this specific journal and a series of questions. We started doing that with my parents when I was really little. And we always celebrated the spring equinox because that's my birthday. So
Happy birthday!
So, and then we did Easter and Christmas in a very non-related to the stories of Jesus way in my family. And that's how I was raised. I was raised, to believe in fairies and tree divas and the goddess and everything, really, angels.
Beautiful. So March 20 is your birthday.
Well, it's actually the 21st, so it's the first
Right.
day after
In the
spring.
in the
Or it's like
light
the
of the
first,
spring equinox.
exactly, correct.
Which is so interesting because it's your lineage, your European lineage, that almost supported or dictated that Gregorian calendar that shifted the whole entire
100%.
calendar to make sure that the spring equinox, and then it was going to be Good Friday and then Easter. So the whole
Thing, and we're right
Christian
in that right
Catholic calendar.
now. And I know that I have also some Celtic roots, so when I celebrate and I light the candles and when we celebrate these earth holidays, I do feel connected to them from the before times.
It's just so beautiful because it would be really interesting. I mean, growing up in Maine, but also being Northern European, whenever you're out of alignment, you will probably feel really good eating fish. I mean, especially if like your lineage is near the water.
That's so interesting. I've never thought about that before. I love that. But I do. I mean, I'm a seafood girl for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, growing up in Maine, I mean, that's the way of life. We would just like buy lobsters from the lobster man just down the street. Like
Oh, I
that
love
he
it.
got fresh off the boat that day. So when I go to restaurants and they're like, "Oh, it's the Maine lobster. It's just going to be $125." I'm like, "Yeah, no." That's not how this works.
Yeah, and then it's like farm raised and not how you grew up
Well,
on
you
it.
can't actually have farm raised lobster. They don't do that. It's always
Oh,
wild. That's not a thing. But yes, the markup is significant, especially when you're in Maui or something, which is one of the times I was
quite
offered that. And I
amazing.
was like, "No, I'm not going to get Maine lobster in Maui.
I love
I'm
it.
going to eat
Thank
what's
you.
local. Thank you." Yeah.
Wow, that's so interesting. So you have such, I mean, between Northern Europe and then growing up in Maine and then the rituals you bring into your own house. The reason I'm asking is I feel like when it comes to money mindset, wealth, abundance, it is so fucking deep. Like it's more than just what you learned from your immediate family. It's actually your ancestors and how
Yes.
they really grew up, and how money was passed down. Like I think of my lineage as gypsies. Like there's a big reclamation around the term. And as a nomad forever, that is, still living in Costa Rica and of course in Chicago right now, but hoping to head to Europe very soon. There's this reclamation around integrating wealth into my family ecosystem and what I've learned from my lineage. So, what are some of these stories for you?
I love that you're talking about this because so many of our behaviors and our habits and our unconscious patterns in adulthood are shaped by our ancestry and the way that epigenetics works and the way that our nervous system is literally living out the patterns of our ancestors or the expansion patterns. And most people don't ever think about that as it results to money. They don't ever think about ancestral trauma as it relates to money, but it's so deeply in there. And when we only deal with the surface level of money belief work and our own money story from this life, when we were even conscious of it, because by the way, a lot of this stuff is just like pre-verbal in us also, we're missing the vast majority of the opportunity to unlock ourselves and to liberate ourselves from carrying around the baggage of our ancestors. So, my ancestry, I have two sides of my family. My mom comes from a small town in Western New York, and her mom, grew up in the Great Depression. She was raised by a single mom. My grandmother's dad was a bootlegger, and my granny, grew up living over a bar and has had a very strong memory of losing her family's last 50 cents in the snow while she was walking to get bread, and standing in the bread lines. So just such a profound fear, and really no resources. She actually grew up, oh, and you said Catholic. Isn't this funny how we don't remember things? My grandmother actually grew up going to the local Catholic school only until she was 13. And she did that because she would clean the toilets. She cleaned the bathroom in exchange for her tuition because she didn't have the money for it. But then she was accused of painting the Blessed Virgin's toenails on the altar, which if you knew my granny, she never even I guarantee she didn't even own nail polish. So she definitely did not do that. And she was told by the priest that she was excommunicated from the Catholic Church because she wouldn't confess, which of course the local priest in Buffalo, New York could not excommunicate her. But she was like, if this is what religion is, I am out. And ever since then, she on Sundays would tell my grandfather when she got married, she married him when she was 19 because he sort of had this promise for her of a better life. And she would tell them every Sunday, she would say, you go to your church, I'll go to mine. And he would take the kids to the local Episcopalian church and she would go out into the woods and go hiking.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so that was my granny on that side. She willfully created a better life for herself and for her children. And all of her kids are self-made entrepreneurs. Very fascinating crew. So that's the Northrup side. And then my dad's side, very different. My dad's mom was I don't know how many generations back, but my great whatever grandfather was created the formula for Alcoa aluminum. So there was some sort of generational wealth there that ran out before my generation. So it's also been a really interesting story to see on the two different sides how on my mom's side, my maternal side, what got installed in all of the children was resourcefulness and the ability to make something out of nothing. And they're all just really incredible, innovative entrepreneurs and have just created these lives that are just and my mom's the only one who finished college. So it wasn't even because it was some academic training. And then the other side, my dad was third generation Harvard, they did the classic thing that you're supposed to do. And not to, I mean, also beautiful lives in many ways, but just a very different way of being with money that I notice comes from inherited wealth, where the resourcefulness and the ability to create something out of nothing was not installed in the lineage because the money was there. So it was more about conserving, less about creating. And in the end, it wasn't actually conserved. So anyway, here we are. Yeah.
Lineages, even you just went, up to granny. It's so fascinating, everything we learn. And Kate, I mean, you have an extensive academic background. You are super high achieving in academia and then also went into entrepreneurship, which, obviously I resonate with, as that's my background as well. So for people listening to this and they have deep-seated money mindset. Their parents lost all the money. Their grandparents started a venture and they lost all the money. Their ancestors, there's something passed down over and over and over again. How can we have a liberated conversation around reclaiming healthy relationships to abundance?
For me, liberation comes right down to nervous system and neuroscience, because when we can change our wiring, we can change our life. And there is no such thing as a pattern or ancestry or anything that is holding us back from what we want. It is impossible for it to be permanent. It is impossible. And instead, we can actually rewire ourselves because of the gift of neuroplasticity. And the cool thing about our brain and our body is like the survival parts, the less conscious parts, they don't have any sense of time. And so the way we can liberate ourselves from the baggage is to use sequencing and practices to literally get in a time machine, go back, repattern these moments. And just like those movies we watch where people go back in time and then they change the future, that's real. When we go back to these moments, whether they're moments that we experienced, that we remember consciously, or whether it's just a feeling, because you do not need to have any kind of factual or even verbal memory. You do not need to explain why. You don't need any of that stuff in order for this to work, just to be super clear. So if someone's listening and they're like, I don't have memories from childhood, or, my parents have passed away, I don't know anything about my ancestry, I don't know what was going on with my grandparents, it's fine. You don't need to know that stuff because it lives in your body, and you can tend to these little, I think about them as tangles, like little tangles in our nervous system, little pairings. And just like we would detangle and untangle a little finely woven chain necklace, you just get in there, you untangle it, and then you live differently from there on forward. And when we untangle these little knots in our nervous system, our reality cannot help but shift. It's like becomes inevitable.
So I teach active meditation for ADD, ADHD, depression, compulsive negative thought patterns to tell the nervous system it's safe to relax. So what does this look like in play? So somebody is looking to invest in themselves, or they actually maybe they got in a fender bender and they need to spend $8,000 they didn't mean to on a car, and they're like thinking about where is that $8,000 going to come from. They don't have great insurance. Yeah. What are some practices they can move into? Is it actually we move into an active meditation practice? We sit down and in that meditation, we do the untangling.
So what I teach are nervous system healing drills. And so it doesn't look like meditating in my practice, but there are so many beautiful tools, and so I welcome them all. But basically, my pathway is always in through the body, because a lot of people are trying to change their financial life at the level of income and at the level of thoughts and beliefs. But we cannot change at the level of thoughts and beliefs or behavior, which leads to income, without starting with the nervous system. And the nervous system cannot be talked into something. We can't think our way out of anxiety. We can't think our way out of distress. We can't think our way out of looping. We can only feel our way. And I'm sure at the root of what you and I both do is similar mechanics. But basically, I practice something it's like the 3 S's. So if you are spinning, you've gotten into that fender bender, there's an unexpected tuition bill from your kid's college, there's, whatever, or somebody's lost a job, or just, you're doing a renovation and suddenly it costs twice as much, which just happened to us.
I love that.
Real life experience. You got to stop and be like, okay, I need to get myself in a different state, because the looping and the spinning comes from fear and scarcity. But we cannot create abundance from a state of fear and scarcity. So we have to stop, and then we need to signal safety. And we can signal safety in any number of different ways. I teach a bajillion different tools for different reasons at different times, but one of the easiest ones we can do at any time is notice gravity. You just notice gravity. So instead of going into like, I'm going to fix this problem, what can I do about it, we're going to stop and signal safety. And what noticing gravity does is it signals to your body and to your survival brain, oh, it's safe. There are enough resources. I'm right here. The lights are on. I'm hydrated. No animal is chasing me. No one is threatening me right now. And then you solve. So you got to stop, signal safety, and then solve. Because when we signal safety first, our capacity to think of creative solutions, our capacity to think critically, and our capacity to actually be aware of the resources we already have expands. So one of the things that I see over and over and over again with my students is that they use this: stop, signal safety, solve. And what they notice is, because they did the sequencing of the stopping and the signaling safety first, they'll then remember this whole account or this whole encounter or this whole person that had already said they would help them, or like this special deal that they remember about the insurance, that now that they feel safe in their body, they have all this oxygenation and blood flow to their brain and the prefrontal cortex, which is the part of our brain that makes good decisions. So now you're like, oh yeah, no big deal. I'm just going to text Bob and he'll, whatever, right? Which 5 minutes ago, you didn't even remember that Bob existed because you were in survival mode. And when we're in survival mode, we don't think well.
Kate, I love this so much. I also love very grounded frameworks. I think it gives people something to eat and then they can move forward. This reminds me, I teach a very specific framework called the PPP method, which is pause, pray, and pay attention. And it's that pause where it's like, meditate, journal, call your mom, like get into and cry, like get into that place of safety. And I'm sure you see this as well. I think so often people come into our worlds and they want to be happy and they want, of course, wealth, abundance, freedom. I see so often what people really want is clarity, and to have that place of safety, of pausing, that's going to remind them of Bob or that potential client or that account that they've never really tapped into, or the insurance thing that they have because of the credit card they have, which is something that happened to us in Costa Rica, which was very lucky in that moment.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's these little things.
These little things. And so what we're talking about right now is the energetics, right? It's the thing that is completely invisible, and it is what is dictating how you feel as it relates to money. But then the other piece of it is the engineering. And I find that in the spiritual space, a lot of people are only handling the energetics and they're not handling the engineering. So it's like, get yourself into alignment, abundance meditations, law of attraction, manifesting, and maybe some strategy also to make more money. But then it's like, but what are you doing with the money when it actually comes in? Do you have percentage allocations pre-decided? Does that money have a job? What accounts do you have set up? How are you dictating your needs and your wants? How are you, managing between your business finances and your personal finances? What's the actual system there? And for most people that I meet, especially spiritual entrepreneurs, they don't actually have infrastructure, and they're letting love and light be their only strategy. And if you have a fender bender and have an unexpected expense, what you actually need is a cushion fund. So one of the things that I teach is side by side with the engineering, as we begin to compound and build greater and greater levels of safety in our body and in our psyche, we also simultaneously, as you pray, move your feet. So we also, in a sequential order, work towards more optimal structures for wealth stewardship, so that not only is your nervous system holding you, also your financial systems are holding you, so you don't have to try to hold everything. And so having both is really critical. But it takes a minute, and most people don't know what they're doing because we were never taught. And, we become an adult, you're supposed to be good at sex and good at money, but you're not allowed to talk about either. Like, what? So anyway, it's not, people don't know, and then I help them know.
I met my husband in 2017, and one of the first things he did when I told him about my business is he created a spreadsheet for me. And I was like, what is this magic? And it was just a simple spreadsheet where I could put in revenue and expenses like that. And obviously that has grown. And I love what you say about having these like different pockets. I had a conversation with a mutual friend of ours about 5-6 months ago, and we were talking about manifestation. And I teach, and I think we've talked about it, I teach snapshot manifestation, which is chapter 6 of my book, Nothing Can Stop You. It's a profound practice. I hear from people around the world all the time about how they manifested abundance, a soulmate, like really beautiful, amazing things. So this friend says, Erin, I want to manifest $11 million. And she couldn't obviously hold it. It's something, it's out in the world. She can see that other people are experiencing it. Why not me is a powerful manifestation mantra. I see that so-and-so has it, even if it is just on Instagram. So I know it exists in this reality. I can tap into that as well. So if somebody is trying to get to their next level of self, and they're taking physical aligned action, they're hiring a mentor, they're investing maybe in affiliate or a paid ad strategy, they have keynote speaking engagements, they're really doing the physical aligned action to get them towards that $11 million per year goal. At the high level, what are some practices that this person can do to get their mindset to rise to the occasion?
I love this question. So I will just point back to what we just talked about, which is the engineering. Money does not feel safe without a container. So it's very much like, if you build it, they will come. And a lot of people who are manifesting haven't even set up separate business and personal accounts, right? So like we want to just make sure that you have the container ready and that you're tending to what you already have. Because when you're tending well to what you already have, money feels safe with you. Just like people feel safe with you because they know you're a safe person because you will care for them. So same. So we already talked about that on a 3D level, but I just wanted to say it applies here too. And then on a more manifesting, mental level, I always go body first, business second, or body first, bank account second. When we're in a physiological state of first safety, but then also expansion and possibility and abundance and bliss, we become magnets, because every financial transaction is between two human beings, both of whom have an electromagnetic field that is impacting the other one. If you have an electromagnetic field that's incoherent, so that's rooted in scarcity, any kind of desperation, feelings of unworthiness, anger, judgment, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with being angry, but that's another conversation for another time. You're going to have a jagged energy field, and that will be repulsive to money, because money ends up in your hands because another human being made a decision based on a feeling that they had. Sure, they probably backed it up with logic, but anything we do as humans is decided because of a feeling we feel now, or a feeling we want to feel or don't want to feel later. And so if you are radiating an energy of confidence, trustworthiness, alignment, authenticity, and people are like, wow, who that person is being on the outside is who they're being behind the scenes. And also they're actually embodying, like, I feel around them a deep settling in my body because my body can read the frequency of truth in their body. And this is different than being enthusiastic. This is different than being charismatic. And this is definitely different than saying the right words and having the right messaging. You can put the right words and charisma and the right messaging and the right strategy on top of misalignment, and you will get inconsistent results at best. So what we want to do is really look at, okay, what's going on inside of myself and what's going on behind the scenes with that 3D engineering of my money? And then what am I projecting as a result of that? Most people start with, what am I projecting into the world? And they're just trying to change the way they're perceived. And as a business strategy, if that's not matched in equal parts, but even more with the interior work of feeling the way you want to feel now without anything ever needing to change externally, you will repel money. But if you get that organized, you won't even be able to handle all the opportunities that come your way. And suddenly things get to be in flow. And it's like, wow, this is just so much easier than it used to be. Doesn't mean there's not still work involved, but it doesn't feel like you're pushing a boulder up a hill anymore. Now, maybe you're just like tapping the boulder down the hill.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful, Kate. It's always the both, right? So it's connecting to the feeling state, knowing what that looks like, to almost what Neville Goddard says. It's like living in the end of the manifestation of the dream realized and taking that massive physical aligned action. And I know this is why people work with you and join my world and your world, to be in the presence of other like-minded people. What if somebody is in that state of abundance, yet they live in a house with people with a scarcity mindset, or they're moving into the holiday season with people that can't even, hold the abundance or even the conversation of abundance?
Oh, this is such a great question. I actually have a podcast episode on my podcast, Plenty, about explicitly this, like how to stay in abundance when the people around you are in scarcity, because it comes up in my world all the time. So I want to point to a couple of things. Number one, it's a very, very sneaky thing that we do, which is we say, well, I can't do that because my husband or my partner or my whatever is in scarcity. And that is our sneaky, subconscious way of getting ourselves off the hook to taking responsibility for our own side of the sidewalk. So that's a very it was like a secondary gain thing, right? And secondary gain is, what are you getting by remaining exactly where you are? So it will come up a lot in my world. How do I get my partner on board with this? What if my partner isn't into doing personal work? What if my partner, whatever? And I'm like, put your eyes on your own paper, my friend. Could you say unequivocally that you have absolutely turned over every stone as it relates to your own relationship with money? And until you can say, oh yeah, I've absolutely committed to everything, I've looked everywhere in every nook and cranny, don't even worry about your partner. So that's number one. And the amazing thing is, not always, but sometimes when you start to do your own work and the field changes, because the field cannot not change if you're changing, the relationship cannot stay the same if you are changing, because you are half of the relationship. It is very frequent that people start to do the work inside my programs and then something shifts, quote unquote, miraculously with their partner. There's one particular woman named Annette, and she had really, she's with a beautiful man. They have an amazing relationship, and there were some financial challenges. and she doubled down and she committed to her work. And wouldn't you know it, her partner, he just sort of like spontaneously managed to pay off all his debt, massively increase his credit score, make all this extra money, and he was not in the program himself. But she changed, so he changed. So I will also say that. And then the third thing I will say is this. When we're going home for the holidays, when we're around family, when we're whatever, we need to learn to be the thermostat instead of the thermometer. The strongest nervous system in the room always wins. The strongest nervous system in the room is the thermostat. And it takes practice. It takes reps. If you want stronger quads, you gotta do the reps, right? If you want a stronger nervous system, you gotta do the reps. So it just is like practicing, and then titrating. You know, it might be that before you were aware of this realm, you could spend days and days and days in that environment. And now maybe you can only spend 2 hours before your thermostat weakens and you gotta go home and recharge. It's fine. It's totally great. Just do the amount you can and then head home.
I love you explain it like a spiritual practice. I mean, this is the same exact teachings that are in Kabbalah. In Kabbalah, which is, it's likabel, it's a Hebrew word. It means to receive. It predates organized religion, the spiritual framework. It informs the Abraham religions, which is Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. But that's the exact spiritual practice that only one partner needs to do the spiritual work, and it heals the whole family system, or your beloved will rise to the occasion.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Amazing.
it's really...
I have not studied Kabbalah. So I always love when, you know, we find ways to wisdom through different paths.
Kate, you're teaching Kabbalah.
Cool.
It's really cool. It's really cool.
Amazing.
It's amazing. It's really cool. And I would probably say it's because it's of your lineage, right? It's something you can speak to quite easily because it's what you're made up of. It's the atoms of your body. It's the agreement you had with God when you came into this world, to the family that you were born into. It is super cool. Kate, I know we're bringing, when this episode comes out, it's going to be before Good with Money. So can you tell us a little bit about this incredible free live masterclass? I've shared it with my community already. I'll keep sharing it.
Great. So Good with Money this year is, last year we had over 44,000 people register.
Oh my God,
so
that's amazing.
It's a movement. It's a movement. I know it keeps growing and I'm like, wow. This is really something. So there's a lot of people activating at the same time around what I call the hidden money ecosystem. So we've been speaking to it, but I'll just explicitly say, when anyone is looking at doing money work, they're really looking to change something in the expression of their financial life, whether they want to make more money, they want to have more savings, they want to have more cushion at the end of the month, they want to have more investments so that they're building wealth passively. They want to be able to steward their money so that they can give generously. These are expressions of your financial life. And so we make the mistake, people make the mistake of starting with the external. What does it look like? And so they go for status symbols, or they try to make more money right away, add in all these different layered strategies. But what we actually need to do first, because sequencing matters, is tend to our hidden money ecosystem. And our hidden money ecosystem has the two pieces we've already been discussing. The energetics, which is how you feel about money and how you're unconsciously and subconsciously responding to it, which is dictating every behavior you ever have. And then the engineering, which is, okay, like what's actually the container for my money? What's the flow? It doesn't always have to take in the form of a spreadsheet that your amazing new partner creates, but whatever it is, right? And the fact that you have a system matters far more than what the system is, but I certainly teach what are the elements of any good financial system that is joyful and simple to maintain. This does not have to be like spending hours in spreadsheets every week. I don't spend any time in spreadsheets every week. So it's the engineering and the energetics. And once you have identified the current state of health of your hidden money ecosystem, and there are 4 potential states it could be in, then we begin to look at, okay, which of the money leaks do you have? I've identified 10 primary ones. And so in the workshop, we'll do what state is your hidden money ecosystem in? Which of the money leaks are you unconsciously having? And then also, what stage of the wealth stewardship pyramid are you in? And the combination of all of those things, plus your current numbers and where you want to go, creates a map. And it's a 90-day relaxed money roadmap where at the end of the workshop, you will have this customized, personalized plan based on all these diagnostic inputs that I have created, having worked with tens of thousands of people over the past 20 years. I would love to say we're special, but nobody's special. We are all the same. And all the same stuff shows up. So once you diagnose it, then you know, oh, here's the bottleneck. Cool. This is the part that's working. I'm going to keep this. This is the part that could use a little help. I'm going to grow here. And then you'll have this 90-day roadmap to upgrade your financial life in one season. Because what I believe is if we can get our money stuff handled, our nervous system and our financial systems, money doesn't have to be such a focus of our lives. It can actually head more to the back burner, like a nice simmering stew, as opposed to like the dish that you have to be constantly tending to and thinking about all day, every day.
Oh, I love a good stew. You just put on in the morning, you don't think about it.
100%.
And this ties into motherhood. And I'm guessing, and I'd love to hear from you, do you feel like when you became a mother of your two beautiful girls, that you were just able to increase your capacity codes, your ability to,
Yeah, no, I mean, that portal opens up in your body and it opens up everywhere in your life if you let it. And it's, it's not for the faint of heart, as you know.
How can mothers increase so this is how I think of it. I always think, like right now as we speak, I have, thank God, a baby growing in my uterus, in my womb, in my body. And I always make, and it's a good belief system, but I always make a lot of money when I'm pregnant. Like I always make a lot of money when I'm in that cycle of birth. And it's a beautiful belief system to have. And it speaks to this like energy that's in my womb that's growing. And then after like postpartum, it's like this empty space. It can be filled with new belief systems. It's like after you give birth, it's a dinner plate of a wound that's large, that's getting ready to heal. And women can insert new belief systems, new abundance, new wealth codes into that space. But I would love to hear from you, how can we use motherhood as another avenue to increase our abundance?
I'm just really sitting with your model there. I love that so much. And while I didn't have that articulation, I certainly had my own experiences of money upgrades during my pregnancies and births and postpartums. Mine were much more about unearthing the profound addiction I had to stress and pressure, and realizing that my entire life I had used stress and pressure as my primary fuel source to feel alive. So no matter how much money we made in our business, I would unconsciously or subconsciously find ways to manufacture more pressure because I didn't know who I would be without it. That achievement loop, you mentioned I come from like a high achieving academic background. I really had installed a lot of programming around performance and being good. And so when I didn't necessarily have to have all that pressure, I made sure that I did anyway by overspending or going unconscious about our business finances, and then really just fundamentally coming back to a place where I said, okay, this was when this was a little later in motherhood, but I had a 2.5-year-old and a 5-year-old, and my husband was really sick for the second time, and I found myself really bearing the brunt of the financial weight in our family because my husband had to drop out of life to get better. And we had just moved to Miami. I was paying for 2 lives. It was just it was in the pandemic. It was just like a real shit show of a time. And I could see how deeply all of a sudden, and I know being a mom was why, because I was like, I do not want to pass this along to my kids. Yeah. I could just see how I was in a loop, and that loop was preventing me from seeing possibilities. So I did a 90-day experiment, and the 90-day experiment was, okay, You're not going to create anything new in your business. You're not going to do any marketing campaigns. You're simply going to deliver on the promises you've already made to your customers. No song and dance, no addiction to new offers because you're feeling terrified that everything's going to fall apart. Just sit with coasting. And during that 90 days, I had a small menu of items that were available to me when I felt that urge to create from pressure, which was all the time, every workday. That was how I operated. So instead, I did these other items, and they were very much in the category of stop, signal safety, and it really required me to sit with myself in a way that I had never done in my entire life. And it was like not the most fun, but it was very liberating. And after 90 days, what was so wild is that we hit all of our financial goals. And I now had a lived experience that over functioning and stress and pressure were not required in order to meet my financial needs. And from there, I began to really restructure everything. And actually, that's where Relaxed Money came from, was from that 90-day experiment.
Beautiful. It's always our real lives that inform the greatest, most profound teachings. But again, that's Kabbalah, right? Going through the pressure point, going through the dark night of the soul, Jungian psychology, the thing that's really suffering, hard, painful, but it leads to the outcome that you could have only learned through that pathway. That's so fascinating, Kate. Now, we talked about a little bit about Relaxed Money, but I just wanted to give you a second. Anything else you want to tell us about Relaxed Money, this beautiful signature framework?
Well, it really is designed as 13 money dates to upgrade your financial life in one season. Full holistic, the engineering and the energetics. And I do not know any other place where it is holistically covered in the right sequence that's evidence-based, rooted in neuroscience, that will actually create sustainable change. This is the only place I know you can get it.
Beautiful. So cool. Yeah, I'm so excited to dive in. I'm so excited for your challenge, Good with Money. Kate, you're just such a goddess. Assuming this episode goes viral, what is some wisdom you would like to share with all the listeners?
Number one is that anybody can be good with money. This is not an inherited trait. Just like nobody's born knowing how to walk, nobody's born knowing how to be good with money, because also money is pretend. It is a made-up system that humans created thousands and thousands of years ago when it became untenable to trade, beans for cows. And so we just really have to know that, number one, money is a made-up system. We do need to participate in it, but there are rules of the game, and you can just learn the rules, and then you're good at the game. And the rules are not hard, but they have been systematically made to sound complicated to keep certain people out. And that I'm so deeply committed to revealing that the rules of the game are not complicated and anyone can learn them. And then number two is, what is really true is that there are enough resources on planet Earth for everyone and every living being to live a good life. Scarcity actually is a lie. And when we're rooted in scarcity, and when our systems and leadership are rooted in scarcity, that creates profound greed and misalignment and poor distribution. But when we are rooted in the truth that there are enough resources on the planet for everyone to live a good life, we really are tapping into the truth of abundance. And then that becomes the reflection of who we actually are, because that is who we actually are.
That is who we actually are. And I love what you said at the beginning, that there are concepts in our modern day culture that exist to keep us confused. And we've never talked about this. My husband and I are big Bitcoiners, and we really look into what financial sovereignty looks like, and teaching Bitcoin in a very synthesized, grounded way. So I love that you're doing that. I think that's actually a lot of our work, is just taking these higher level concepts and making them digestible. Thank you so much, Kate. How can we find you?
At Kate Northrup on Instagram, katenorthrup.com, and my podcast, Plenty.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Kate. So happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wise Woman podcast. We are talking about money today with Kate Northrup. Kate and I connected, wow, it must have been 2 Novembers ago. We were speaking at an event together. And Kate truly is the expert on how to live an abundant life and call in like a lot of money. And the way she teaches it is call in money. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Wise Woman podcast. We have best-selling author Kate Northrup today. Kate and I connected, wow, I think it was 2 Novembers ago. We were speaking at an event together. And Kate has this incredible framework all around relaxed money. I love talking about abundance. This is a really interesting conversation. So we talk about our money patterns and how it can be rooted in our ancestry, because as always, everything that I share with you, we always want to be curious about our ancestry and what we learned from our lineage. Kate shares some very grounded frameworks, which I always love, about rewiring the nervous system to liberate ourselves from anything that kind of blocks us from abundance and money. We talk about signaling safety within the body. Kate teaches a very specific framework, and I added on the PPP method. So it was really fun to kind of riff back and forth on these frameworks that signal safety within the body so that you can really expand thyself to receive the abundance that you most desire. We talked about spiritual practices, earth-based rituals. We talked about neuroplasticity and rewiring our belief systems so that you are a match for the money that you are calling into your life. Kate is also sharing this really incredible free live masterclass called Good with Money. And I definitely want to make sure all of you are connected to that. Know that this is an opportunity for you to dive into. It's all about what if money finally worked as hard as you do. It's a free day live workshop. And this is a place for high capacity people to build the financial infrastructure that turns income into lasting wealth without adding more to your plate. So that link is in the show notes. This is really a fascinating and important conversation about money, receiving money, making yourself available for the abundance in your life, even if you're surrounded by people that do have limiting belief systems around money. Enjoy. So happy to have you all, and welcome to the Wise Woman podcast. What a great conversation, right? I so enjoyed having Kate on the Wise Woman podcast. Any questions, comments, feelings that are coming through for you, feel free to message me at Erin R. Doppelt. Let me know what you think, what's coming up for you between this conversation between Kate and myself. I try to really focus on questions that I've heard within my community, things that I've meditated on, as well as it relates to money, abundance, mindset, manifestation, right? Calling in your next level of wealth. Please, if this resonated with you, give us a 5-star rating, leave a comment. It really helps the algorithm. And I highly, highly recommend, if this conversation awoken something within you, join Kate for her free 3-day live workshop, Good with Money. It's, like I said, completely free. Replays are available. It's a really good space to drop in and just have an honest conversation about money, mindset, what you desire, grounding it a little bit. I loved how Kate talked so much about kind of different pockets of money and just setting yourself up so that you can't fail. Thank you all so much for being here. Such a joy to have you, and see you next time. Such a great conversation, right? I so enjoy being in Kate's energy. Questions, comments, feelings, message me on Instagram at Erin R. Doppelt, and you can let me know that you listened to this episode with Kate and myself. I love connecting with all of you. If this resonated, so appreciate if you would leave a 5-star review and a comment. That really helps the algorithm. And if something awoken within you regarding money, abundance, mindset, getting to your next level of financial wealth, I do highly encourage you to join Kate for her free 3-day live workshop, Good with Money. It is in the show notes for you to sign up. She shares so many beautiful, grounded frameworks, and that's why I love her teachings. Thank you all so much. It's such a joy to be present with you, and until next time.